right. So you know how important it is to like tailor your communication style for different people, right?
Right.
But this deep dive, I think, is going to get into some more high level techniques.
Yeah. Yeah.
You sent me some stuff on audience awareness.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really excited to dig into this because it's, the kind of thing that can make or break a deal or a relationship.
Exactly.
Or even a mission if you're like,
absolutely.
a certain British secret agent.
James Bond. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because what's so fascinating to me about audience awareness is it's not just about knowing who you're talking to. It's about knowing how to adapt and match the situation in your communication.
Okay.
So,
Makes sense.
We're talking about reading between the lines, picking up on subtle cues, and adjusting your approach even as you're talking,
So, okay, let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
Because the idea of audience, I think everybody kind of gets, who you're talking to.
Yeah.
But it's the awareness piece. That's I think where we need to dig in.
It is. And, the awareness piece really comes from understanding that your words, your tone, even your body language could be interpreted differently depending on who you're engaging with.
Right.
I mean, think about it. How would you speak to your boss versus your best friend?
They're totally different.
It's totally different.
You just do it naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have to be very conscious of it when we are trying to communicate effectively.
Well, and you sent me this great example from Casino Royale.
Yes.
James Bond and Vesper Lynd on a train to Montenegro.
Mm-hmm.
And there's high stakes. There's a little bit of mystery.
A little bit of romance.
A little bit of romance going on.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of audience awareness. I mean, just like on display.
Well, and it's a great example because it highlights how the masters of communication can really use this awareness as almost like a weapon in a way. Bond, I think one of the first things he does is use humor to kind of mask a direct question.
Oh, yeah.
And I love this because he says, Job's a bit tame for a girl like you.
Right.
And he's really probing.
He's
trying to figure her out.
Yeah.
But he's doing it in a way that's very, I guess given the context, very acceptable,
Very suave.
Suave, exactly.
Yeah.
Very Bond-like.
Well, and she matches him beat for beat. I mean, she's not,
She does.
some shrinking violet in this situation.
Not at all, no. And she calls him on it, too.
Yeah.
She says, how interesting that you know so much about me and I know nothing about you.
Right.
So she's basically calling him out from his assumptions.
Right.
But she does it in a very playful way. So she's maintaining that light, almost flirtatious tone.
Yeah. And they're both constantly reading the situation. I mean, they're picking up on these cues and adapting.
Adjusting constantly.
Yeah.
To fit what they perceive to be the other person's background and personality.
And they're back and forth. I mean, that wouldn't be nearly as effective.
No.
If they didn't have this deep understanding of each other as the audience.
Absolutely not.
So, I mean, imagine your Bond in that scene.
Okay.
What cues would you be picking up on from Vesper?
Well, first of all, she's very well dressed.
Yes.
She's poised. She's elegant.
She's beautiful.
She's beautiful, of course.
Yeah.
But she's also very sharp.
Yeah.
And she's witty,
Quick.
She's quick.
Yeah.
And I think Bond picks up on all that.
Right.
And it leads him to believe that she's not just some, arm candy,
Right.
that she's intelligent, she's capable,
Right.
and probably someone who's used to being in control.
Yeah.
So he adjusts his approach accordingly.
Okay, so he's kind of matching wits with her a little bit.
He is, and he's also being careful not to underestimate her.
Right.
He's not patronizing her.
Right.
He's treating her as an equal. And I think that's a really important aspect of audience awareness as well.
So it's not just about, figuring out who they are.
Right.
But it's also about how to approach them.
Exactly.
In a way that's going to be respectful and effective.
And create that connection,
Yeah.
because that's ultimately what you want.
So think about how this applies to everyday situations.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is not just about, spies and secret agents.
Not at all.
I mean, writing an email to your boss or sending a text to a friend.
Right.
I mean, it's the same core concept here.
It is.
Before you hit send on that email,
Yeah.
Take a moment to think, if I were on the receiving end of this, how would I read it?
That's such a good point. Yeah.
Such a small thing.
It is.
But it can make such a big difference.
Huge difference. Absolutely.
Audience awareness.
Yeah.
It's not just for spies. it's a skill we can all benefit from.
Absolutely. And we've been talking about verbal cues and things like that. But what about nonverbal communication?
Oh, yeah.
That's
a whole other layer.
That's a whole other layer to this. How do you master body language to make sure that your message is resonating?
Right.
So that's something to think about as you navigate your own interactions.
Okay, great stuff.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.